The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Hello everybody, it's the Gaming Corner here, and today we're going to continue our playthrough of the Stanley Parable. Let's get into it.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he
put the
was
balloons
employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, here we go. Stanley Parable 2.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I wish they had the other balloon, but no. Okay, fine. Ooh.
Stanley
Bucket.
picked up the bucket.
Bucket. No more new content, but that's fine. Okay. Let's see what we could do with this.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Alright, Bucket, let's go. What new adventure awaits us? Let's see. Nobody here.
Still no one was
That's
here.
new.
Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Come on, Bucket. You got this. Let's see if we can find anybody.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket.
It wants my
You
bucket.
can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy?
But
It's
it's
as
my
clear
bucket.
as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now.
I won't let go.
It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk,
What is
that
he
it has
saying?
to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons.
I know that.
Even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends?
How dare they?
That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
I had this bucket for years. I only had this bucket for like a minute. Anyways, closet. Shame on you for calling me names and all that
Okay,
stuff.
I've got you something which
Oh,
I think
okay.
will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Oh.
There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, Broom Closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
I love how he just slapped on a freaking sticker that says property of Stanley. Thank you, narrator. It's mine
All right,
now.
I've got a second sticker back here,
You do?
and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see?
Nice.
I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
Yes, it's a
There
bucket.
really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Also, how did you get the sticker under the property of Stanley? You just slapped that one on.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Okay. Broom closet. There's probably more dialogue, to be honest, but I'm gonna continue on with the story. Do.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Hey, bossy. Oh, we can go in this bathroom. Yay. I always go on the wrong side. Hi. Ooh. Collectible.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I feel like there is a prize by you saying that there is no prize, so therefore I'm expecting a prize. So, don't disappoint me, narrator. If you do, don't make me sad and cry.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of
code again.
any human life.
Eh?
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Also, that portrait reminds me of Agent 47 from the Hitman games. I like playing that. If you guys want me to play those games, I can.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his
Okay,
thumbs.
fine.
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Okay, fine. There you go, narrator.
But Stanley
Happy.
guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Yes, my guide, the bucket. And another Stanley
Another
equivalent
miniature
goal.
Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines?
Stanlerines.
Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Alright, cool. Thank you for the Stanlerine, narrator. Hopefully you come up with a catchier name. It just sounds like a sardine. But to be honest, it is a bucket. What am I saying? It's a bucket. I meant the freaking Stanlerines. Man, I can't think sometimes.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket.
Yes, my reassurance
Soothing
bucket.
him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Everything will be fine. Come on, bucket. We got this.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Okay, very ominous room. I gotta hug this bucket even tighter than I am.
The lights rose
Lights.
on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Okay. Come on, bucket, let's go. See what other buttons we need to push.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
No, not the
Everyone in
bucket.
the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley
you could
cradled
cry?
it gently, reassuring it that everything would be
I
fine.
thought it was supposed to reassure me, not I reassure it. You could cry, Bucket? I didn't know buckets could do that. Must be a very special bucket.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world.
Try not to
At
break
this
it.
point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Bucket, my only friend.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Good for you, Bucket.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth.
Specific.
Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end.
Why?
True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and...
Hello?
What? Wait,
That's not supposed to
what was
happen.
happening? Why had the door stopped?
Freedom.
Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
Why? It's just a bucket, isn't it? No,
Even
no,
the
no, no, put
facility
it back
itself
down.
recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No,
That's
no,
my
no.
bucket.
Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Find out what? That I turned into a golem when we had a ring for all those centuries or whatever? My precious bucket. Did you guys... They do! Trust the completionist instinct. How can we find them? Small floating objects have appeared across the office. We have to synergize our resources to ensure their retrieval. There are many questions. There are no memo from management. How can you tell you spotted one? What makes them float in the air? Who took these pictures of them? Who did take pictures of them? Follow the clues provided by employee 416. Red room. So, 416. Okay, thank you. So I guess we're gonna have to look at their office then. There's a reward providing them all. Wait, is there actually an award? He said there's no reward. Did he lie? Huh? Let's see. Okay, so these are like the special places. Stairs, both red and blue, so those blue and red doors. Boxes. Something. Is this some kind of game? Yes. There must be a point to this. We must find all the Stanlerines. Yes. Let's do this, Bucket. We do this together. We still can't actually enter the...
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers.
I want more stickers.
If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours.
Fine.
But alas, no stickers. Coming to a staircase,
there's one down
Stanley
here.
and the Bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yes, there's...
Okay, I'm
Stanlerine!
going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines.
Okay, you're actually
and now
gonna
I'm
figure out
torn
something
between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Okay. I think Stanlerines are better than Figlies. But that's okay. My input probably would not matter anyways.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Well, my best friend's a
He
Bucket.
looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's
Not
just
my
a
bucket.
normal,
Where's my bucket?
everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his
Where's my
bucket.
bucket?
And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating.
Now
which
you
was,
noticed?
of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Calling me?
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Where are you, my friend?
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next.
Oh my
None
God.
of them were his. None of them were his special
Where's
bucket.
my bucket?
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was
Bucket.
incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
How did the bucket get inside you, Stanley? What did you do?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Ah, Marielle again. Ah, that woman.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of
bucket
comfort
too?
and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket.
Just to have a
Of
bucket.
course, he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work.
for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work,
while leaving a dead body across the floor. Good job for you, Mariella. Oh, narrator.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone?
We could escape together.
Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear.
We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self.
You have a true self?
The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the
How many
land
wars?
and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps, if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
It is a bucket.
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I...
Bucket. No more new content, but that's fine. Okay. Let's see what we could do with this.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Alright, Bucket, let's go. What new adventure awaits us? Let's see. Nobody here.
Still no one was
That's
here.
new.
Stanley needed the bucket.
Stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like...
Is it a vampire? Hello?
My God, Stanley.
We killed
you
the
did
bucket.
it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their
Bucket.
true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.
My poor Bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his
great.
chest. This was not the correct way to
I
the
know.
meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Is it because I could just sit around
And
and
here
just
it was.
relax?
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room?
So can't get a
Yes,
drink.
Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Alright, Bucket, let's move on.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Oh,
Stanley took the door on his left to go
Eh.
back to the meeting room.
let's continue straight.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
You sound very bossy right now, Bucket.
Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
You know what? I don't like your bossiness. You're going down with me.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend.
So I took him
So
down
he
with me.
threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms.
How deeply touching.
Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.